Okay. Look in the camera or you?
Sure.
Both.
Yeah,
Both.
Yeah, both?
Yeah. You can do whatever you want. You can honestly. Yeah.
See over here? No.
Yeah.
I'm Neal Mims. I've been skating 32 years, been pro for 16 of them, and I love to skate.
That's awesome. So, what does street skateboarding mean for you? Or
Street-
skateboarding in general?
Well, I think it's more of like a freedom of expression and an art form, more so than anything. I think when I was younger, I needed an outlet. You know, I had loving parents, but in home life they separated at an early age, and there was something inside of me when I found skateboarding that made me feel like somebody, and it was a good release for me. You know, whatever was going on in my life at the time, it was just good for me to go out and just be free, skate, roll around, and just find whatever it was that I could skate on, whether it was flat ground or curbs, dropping off of loading docks or whatever. So it definitely was a freedom thing for me, like just being one with my board and doing what I wanted to do. There was no rules.
And when you speak of like being out skateboarding, this is out in the streets, right?
Yeah, I would. The thing was, it's really cool because no matter what, you can just take your skateboard, you know, walk out your front door, throw it on the ground, and just start pushing.
Yeah.
And you can have fun doing whatever you want on your skateboard. You know, like I said, there's no rules and there's no set game plan. You just walk out, throw your board on the ground, and start pushing.
Tight. All right, so how would you describe the difference between being able to just skate anywhere in a public area versus being confined to a skate park?
I think, you know, the skate park will offer, you know, in a sense, more options depending on the obstacles than any particular skate park. But going out on the streets and finding stuff, you know, that is not necessarily made for skating, but you can find something to do on your skateboard, on an obstacle out on the streets, that there's a sense of, you know, you're not tamed into one certain place. Like at a skate park, everything stays the same for years on end.
Yeah.
Things out on the streets are constantly being built and constantly growing, that there's unlimited possibilities when you're out on the streets, you know. So you can skate from one block to the other and there's going to be a different obstacle here, and then there's going to be a different obstacle over there. There may be a 1 stair there may be a 15 stair down there. So there's just more options for trick, you know, doing whatever you want to do, depending, you know, on what tricks you want to do or the stuff you want to jump down. I don't know. I think there's just, you get more creative out on the streets is what it boils down to.
What are the main differences that you can take away from, or that you've observed from like the 90s to now when it comes to like the ease of like finding spots and just skating without a lot of hassle?
Yeah, I think it's more accepted now, believe it or not. I mean, we still get kicked out of places, and there's still a sense of people do not like skateboarding or skateboarders. You know, people are judgmental on us for sure. But I think now there's more kids and more people doing, and there's more people in the world since there was in the 90s skateboarding, that it's a little more accepted. In the 90s, even in the 80s, 90s. I mean, we had to run from security. I mean, that still happens,
Yeah.
but it's not as prevalent, as it was back then. Back then, it was a struggle to go get, if you wanted to film something or get a photo somewhere, it was a struggle to get that. I mean, you had to time security, when security was going to be there, when they weren't going to be there, and when, schools are in and all of that. But, depending on where you're at in the world, I mean, there's other countries. I was just in China, and security guards and people gathered around to watch us skate spots that were like marble and granite ledges. And so it's way different than here. I mean, even if there's security and they're pretty cool, they're not hanging out to watch you skate.
Yeah.
So that was definitely something new for me to experience, and I thought that was pretty awesome. So I think it depends on where you're at. Where I'm from in Florida, it's not as accepted as it is out here in San Diego. So it just depends, But I think it's more accepted in that sense than it was back in the 90s.
Do you think skateboarders could kind of change that reputation that they have, or?
Yeah, definitely. It's there's a good and bad bunch in every crowd. There's going to be people that there's going to be your drugs involved in every sport or every kind of activity in life.
Yeah.
But there's people. I mean, I could name off plenty of skateboarders that are drug-free skateboarders and have been for years. Ed Templeton, Andy McDonald, and they're great examples for skateboarding because they do keep their head on straight. They're business owners and they still skate. They're still amazing. And so there's good examples and bad examples in every walk of life, I think. Just like whoever it was recently that in the football field. I mean, that happens all the time, the domestic violence and all that. It happens in skateboarding too, but skateboarding's not as popular as football, so you're not going to hear about the stuff that happens behind closed doors much. But I think as skateboarders, we do have a choice in what we want to do and what kind of example we want to be. And I'm fortunate enough to where I work with kids, and I want to try and be that a good example myself, and surround myself with people that are good examples as well. I have friends that do the other stuff, and that's cool. That's their thing. I don't judge them for it, but I think for the sake of the kids growing up, having good role models in their lives is very important, because I didn't have that when I was growing up.
Just based on what you were saying about role models and stuff, when it comes to the impact that skateboard pros or just, to be like the local, hero, they don't necessarily have to be pro, but, people that, like, young skater kids look up to in the community, how much do you think that can impact, the community of skating as a whole when it comes to, like leading the example?
I think it's huge. I mean, you see kids trying to dress and look and perform like their favorite skateboarders, or their favorite superstar in any other sport. I mean, they want that look, and they want to be exactly who that person is. So it's tough. We all have a choice in life, and everybody's living their own journeys. And there's some kids that are just like, they're on the straight and narrow, and they want to do good, by themselves and follow good examples. And then there's the kids that they want to be the bad guy, quote unquote. But and look at the guy over here. He's smoking a lot of weed, and it looks fun, it looks cool, he's got long hair, he's got ripped clothes, but he kills it on his skateboard, and he's doing this, he's doing that, and that's fine too. I think maybe that works for them, but I know what personally works for me, and it's not that way, it's this way over here, so it's personal preference, and kids don't really, they haven't grown up enough to make a solid decision to find out where they want to be until they make mistakes to get there,
What kind of contributions do you think skateboarding brings to a community?
I think most of all, a positive mindset, definitely open-minded. I mean, as skateboarders, it's such a huge culture that there's so many different realms of different realms of human beings, and their mindset is very, it's non-prejudiced, non-judgmental for the most part, and I think we just want to have fun. We're just big kids. Even though some of us older guys, it's like that kid inside of us thrives off of skateboarding and will never leave us. And I think when people see that, the general public, they're like, oh my God, that guy's 40, 50 years old, and he's out there skating and having fun still. That's inspiring, and I think it's great for the community to see that you're never too old to do something. You're never too old to have fun, and you don't have to have a super high-paying job or a super high high-rise building type of job to have fun and enjoy life, or you don't need to make all the money in the world, because that's not what makes you happy. It's kind of comes from within, what makes you happy, and that's what skateboarding is for me, is that internal feeling of just being a kid and having a good time and having fun on my board.
Based on what you said, you mentioned Ed Templeton, and you're talking about older skaters and just people who are still, have a presence within the skate community, whether it's based on their past and what they were able to do back when they were in their prime, or just what they do now in the business sense. How would you say how would you say the skateboarding industry can affect the community? You know, besides just being like a pop culture, you know, more
Like a trend, like a
yeah,
social
more of a
trend.
trend as it is now. Like, what else does skateboarding bring?
You know, I think it opens doors for a lot of people to have a job in what they want to do, because not everybody's going to be fortunate enough to live the professional skate dream that some kids set out to live, and that's fine, you know. But people can find a presence within skateboarding and do some kind of work, whether you know it's filming or shooting photos for the magazine, or doing sales at one of the skate companies. I think skateboarding is good for the economy overall, and helps create jobs for people that love skateboarding. You know.
And I haven't asked anybody this question yet, but basically, if you were trying to negotiate with a property owner who had like this killer spot, what would you tell him when he asks you, like, what are you bringing me? Because I'm letting you use the space. Like, because right now, it could seem like really one-sided, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I'm letting you skate, but, you know, you're kind of messing up my property, you know? If anybody gets hurt, I'm liable, blah, blah, blah.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of
It's
that.
like, what are you guys bringing to my business?
I think it just depends on the business owner and how open-minded or how cool or how. And this is something I'm constantly torn with, because I understand going to a spot, we're destroying their property, you know, but it's fun to skate on. So, you know, it's tough to say, you know, and like I said, there's places like where I just was in China, where beautiful, I mean, everything's beautifully made. I mean, it had to cost, maybe, I don't know how much it costs to make it, but everything's laid out really nice, and nobody seemed to worry about it. Nobody was worried. Even the very few places they were like, no, you can't do that here. They weren't like, you're destroying our marble. They weren't worried about that. It didn't matter, you know. So it just depends on the person, I think, and how they approach you. But really, we're not really bringing much, except for I think the fact that if something's being filmed there, that it does end up in a famous skate video.
Yeah.
That the spot can become world renowned through skateboarding. So say it's a restaurant,
Yeah.
you know, and then it's like there's a spot there and they're filming a trick on it. Like you got P-Rod filming a sick trick on it. It's going to be in his video part.
Yeah.
Well, people all over the world are going to see that, and they're going to remember that restaurant. That's the spot where P-Rod did his trick. So when they come out to visit wherever that spot is, the kids are going to want to go there, not only to skate, but P-Rod probably ate there too. I want to eat there too. So there's that positive side to it too, you know, that it just depends on what kind of business it is, you know. It could be a 7-Eleven, you know, something where it's a consumer thing, and, you know, a famous skateboarder could make that spot super famous. Because when I came out to California, all the spots that I saw in the videos when I was a kid, I was able to go to, and I still, you know, see stuff, and I'm like, I remember that when I was a kid. I remember that spot when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And that, you know, that's the stuff that feels good. But yeah,
Brings in business revenue.
yeah, it can. You know, there's spots that won't, but all in all, I think there's some positive things to that for sure.
So like there's somewhat of an aspect of like promotional value, kind of.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's like inadvertent promotion. You know, inadvertently being promoted through skateboarding.
Being involved in the skate community for however long you've been skateboarding. I know you've been skateboarding since like the 90s, right?
Since the 80s.
Since the 80s.
1982.
Yeah, dude. Having that long history in the skate community, how willing do you think skaters would be to like cooperate with property owners, like, and follow like some sort of rule or code of conduct to skate spots, public spots?
I think even as of recently, and Alec might have touched on it, that they just recently got a permission for a spot up in LA that's an old famous skate spot. And for the most part, I think everybody's been following directions. There might have been a few little mishaps along the way, but like that goes with there's a bad bunch in every crowd, and it's like not everybody's going to want to follow the rules, you know. And there's a lot of good examples of people that will follow the rules, and then that can trickle down to people that want to follow that, you know. But There's always going to be the rule breakers out there that could care less about what's written on the wall or what the time schedule is, when you can skate here, when you can't skate here. Prime example, this isn't a public skate park where we're at.
Yeah.
While we were here skating, there was a whole group of guys came up and they're like, "Is the park open?" And I'm all, "Well, did you contact, the team manager?" And I hate having to be that guy, but they got to keep it regulated around here. And so I had to tell them that until you talk to somebody, then you can come here and skate.
Yeah.
So there's rules. I think there's rules everywhere. It's just some people will follow them, some people won't.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Yeah, hope that was good.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, no problem.